Today we're going to be revisiting some modern classics with the Revv G3 and G4 version 2s. Crazy to think about, but the originals came out 7 years ago in 2018, and now I feel old. But I remember when, I think it was the first one that came out was the G3, the purple one. And I remember everybody was just blown away by how good they were, all the cool demos of them coming out, people getting to try them. And I think that really made a name for Revv. Like, I mean, they had the amps before that, but I think the pedals that they had put out really kind of elevated them. And I was just starting out at that time trying to make some YouTube videos, didn't really know what I was doing. I wasn't really serious about it yet. Sometime after those had originally come out, I actually got the opportunity to demo them. Revv had me demo them, and that was a huge honor for me at the time. I was still really small. I mean, I'm still small now, but I was much smaller then, didn't know what I was doing. My video quality, don't go check, but they were terrible, just believe me. And so for them to want me to demo these awesome pedals, I felt like I'd made it. And that was a huge deal for me. And so it's so awesome that they wanted me to check out the version 2s as well. They sent these over, and it just brought up that old feeling, that nostalgia I had of when I first was so excited that this awesome company that I really liked wanted me to demo something from them. And so of course I wanted to demo these again. Now they've revamped them slightly with the version 2s. I'm not really sure exactly what they've tweaked, and I haven't done like an A/B comparison. I don't have the originals anymore to compare them to, but let me tell you, these are still absolutely fantastic, both as distortion pedals and especially as preamp pedals, which were always my favorite way to use them then and still are my favorite way to use them now. And I thought it would be cool with these version 2s to show them both in a video, show them both as preamp pedals and as distortion, since I didn't really go into the distortion much back in the day when I first demoed these. And I thought it would be cool to have them juxtaposed against each other so you could hear the strengths and the differences between both of them and why they're both great. Now, both of these pedals are based off of the purple and red channels on the Revv Generator 120, their flagship amplifier. So the purple, the G3, is a lot more tight. It's more focused. It's definitely modern. It's definitely less saturated and dry. And then you have the G4 based on the red channel, which is, I remember the artist rep at the time described it as the butt rock channel, like the 90s channel. It's very much rectifier-y, much bigger, scooped, a much fatter low end, and much more saturated. Because of that thicker low end and that wider scoop and that kind of rectifier-y thing, I think this pedal actually takes an overdrive super well. So in the out of mix section for the preamp specifically, we're going to hear this hit with a Maxon 808, an OD808 overdrive, and I'll put on screen when that's happening. Just like with before, all the controls are still the same. So you still have bass, middle, treble, volume, gain, and then it does have a 3-way toggle switch for essentially an aggression, like saturation. It says aggression on the website, and it's really about how much it saturates, how much gain it has, and of course that does add aggression to it. So in the middle, it's just the lowest gain setting, and then you have blue, and then you also have red. Blue being like the second gain stage up, and then red just being the all-out high saturation gain stage. And that's always where I like these. That hasn't changed. That's what you were hearing for the in mix, but in the out of mix, we'll play around with all the different settings. So just like in the in mix, I'm going to have this going in all the same gears. So for the preamp sections, we're going to have this going into the power section of my Lichler and Prometheus. And then for all the distortion stuff, that's going to go into the clean channel of my Friedman BE50 Deluxe. And then both of those amplifiers were running into my 2 Notes Captor X, which just have a DV77 and VM1265 IR blend. And you can actually get that down below in my Dropbox link. Let's check it out. So both of these pedals absolutely still slay, and this was an awesome trip down memory lane. I am so glad that these are still beloved, absolutely well-deserved, and I'm glad to see that these kind of got a revamp with a version 2 and a slightly different casing. They're a bit shinier now. They used to be a little bit more matte before. They got the new Raise logo. They look pretty good, but the most important thing is they still sound and feel great. Especially, again, my favorite is them as preamps. I think they sound really, really good. You could absolutely gig with this, and I mean, if you needed a good recording rig, this into an IR and an interface would absolutely sound great, either of them. If I did have one small criticism I could nitpick, I think they do need a little bit more volume. Not like they weren't hitting anything hard enough, especially as distortion pedals, but plenty of modern preamp pedals from other companies, you know, nowadays do have buckets of volume on them, just so you can make sure that you're hitting the power section of whatever you're going into just right, or getting the volume that you want. So that could be one thing that maybe could be fixed, but honestly, it's not really all that necessary. It was just kind of the one thing I was looking to see if I could find anything that I would change with these after all this time. But they're fantastic pedals. Again, modern classics for a very good reason. Would love to know your thoughts down below, if you've owned any of these, if you love them, still use them. I will have a link down below if you want to check out this or anything else from Revv. They have made plenty more pedals. I've demoed a bunch of them over the years. Love to see the company doing great and thriving. Hopefully get to demo one of the amps in the near future. I did try out that Revv 40 watt, the generator 40 watt at NAMM a couple years ago, and that thing slayed. So would love to see more Revv on the channel, but thanks for watching. Stay metal.